Isekai.
Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 95, Two Persons in Solitude. What happened? Shin Miao blinked out a little. In her view, this kind of slightly frivolous actions should be stopped with a stern voice, but she did not know why. She actually replied honestly, just now when escaping, one was injured by a dagger. Zi Jingxing swept a glance at her and threw her a porcelain bottle that he took out. Apply the medication. Shen Miao received it without speaking more. She wanted to apply the medication, but because she was entirely sitting on the floor, and because she had soaked in the ice-cold lake for a long time, she was unable to employ any energy at all, not to mention applying medication. Even sitting up was difficult. When Zi Jingxing saw this, he walked over to her side and shouldered her to the small couch in the cabin. Shin Miao had lived for 2 lifetimes and was not a little young lady who had her first awakening of love, so naturally she would not feel embarrassed when they were alone. However, she was wearing Zi Jingxing's large clothes and her fair shoulders were exposed. Thus when the cold wind blowed, one was unsure if it was the cold or the discomfort, but a layer of goosebumps rose. Without waiting for her to say anything, a warm thing covered her face and it practically buried her head. Shin Miao shook her head before discovering that what was on her body was Zi Jingxing's fox coat. That fox coat was warm and Shin Miao unconsciously wrapped it tighter around her, and only her small face was exposed as she looked at Zi Jingxing without speaking. She truly looked somewhat like a little furry fox. Zi Jingxing felt somewhat funny. He got up and walked to the other side to take something unknown before squatting in front of Shen Miao, reaching out his hand to hold Shen Miao's leg. "What are you doing?" Shen Miao evaded and asked. "If your injury is not treated, it will fester tomorrow." Zi Jingxing said, "You better not take advantage of me." Shen Miao. This person's words were really too annoying. What, taking advantage of him? And to still say those words with a serious look, making Shen Miao want to simply ignore him. She said, "I will do it myself." "All right." Zi Jingxing stood up without a second word, leaned against the counter and folded his hands around his chest as if he was watching the commotion from the side. "I will watch you do it." Shen Miao bent her body down but her hands were unable to hold the medicine bottle firmly. Previously, when she was quarreling with those two, she was thrown by the skinny tall one a few times, so her whole body felt sore. Thus at this moment her hands were trembling and could barely open the bottle and almost spilled everything out. After struggling for half the time, she finally gave up but did not want to admit defeat to Zi Jingxing, so she sat on the snow-white fox coat and did not speak a single word as she stared at Zi Jing crossing. Zi Jingxing laughed out loud with a kai sound and snatched the bottle off Shen Miao's hands before squatting down again. He held Shen Miao's calf and casually said, "I am not a good person. If you want to act in a rage, one fear that you will have to gamble with your leg." Shin Miao stayed silent and did not utter a word. Zi Jingxing held her leg and slowly lifted the trousers up. His hands were cold and slender and they seemed to have the shallow callus that people who practiced martial arts had. When they rubbed against the soft and delicate skin, Shen Miao had a kind of an uncomfortable feeling, as if that piece of skin also started to heat up. In the next moment, because the clothes materials were suddenly pulled off, it was so painful that Shen Miao almost cried out. "The wound is somewhat deep." Zi Jingxing scrutinized it and said with a frown, "Why did you not say it before? I did not think that you will be this good-hearted." Shen Miao said she really did not think that Zi Jingxing would be so kind-hearted to apply medication for her. With their relationship as it was considered as very thankful for Zi Jingxing to have saved her life today. Such a profound thinking person was not one who is good. Thus Shen Miao was unable to think of any reason for Zi Jingxing to save her. That was why she was thinking to only deal with the leg injury when she get back to the Shen residence. Zi Jingxing got up and picked up the teapot from the side table, and poured out all the water inside before stretching his hand out of the boat to fill up a pot of water to boil at the furnace. He said, "Indeed I am not that good-hearted, but seeing that you have loyalty, one will be a good person." Speaking till here, he raised his head and looked towards Shen Miao before saying, People always said that Shenzhen is loyal and righteous. One did not expect that a little girl of the Shan family also understood loyalty and righteousness. Many thanks for not selling me out. He was half joking and half serious, and Shen Miao did not explain that he had misunderstood it. At that time, in such a situation, if one were to immediately say that the person in the secret chambers was Zi Jingxing, then the two persons would immediately kill her, who did not know about the stratagem of delaying the enemy. But since Zi Jingxing thought that she did not say it due to loyalty and to make Zi Jingxing felt that he owed her a personal favor, what was there against it? Thus Shen Miao did not intended to clarify the misunderstanding. However, as Shen Miao thought with her head bowed, even if she had truly sold Zi Jingxing out, with Zi Jingxing's ability, he could still retreat unscathed. Just now she had clearly heard that two persons definitely had comrades around the vicinity. But now there was no movements at all. One could imagine whose hands had made it possible. After a brief silence, the water in the pot started to boil. Zi Jingxing tore a piece of cloth from the robe and soaked it with some hot water, and with one hand holding Shen Miao's calf on his knee, his other hand was wiping the blood stains around the wound. Shen Miao's leg was almost in Zi Jingxing's embrace and was able to touch his eyes cold lapel. The material was also cold and stiff, as if it was his cold heart under the frivolous appearance. Shen Miao felt some discomfort and turned her head aside, and her toes could not help but curled up. In the previous life, other than with Fu Ziyu, she had never been this close interacting with other males. Even with Fu Ziyu, upon recollection, there was more reservations, as most of the time Fu Ziyu only left a sovereign image with her, thus there was almost no males that she met during her youthful days. Feeling that it was somewhat quiet, Shen Miao found a topic of conversation and asked, who were those people? Those people she was referring to were naturally the skinny tall one and his entourage. Even after hearing this, Zi Jingxing did not say anything, and after he wiped the dirty blood of her calf, he sprinkled the medicine powder and took out a handkerchief to bandage it for her. When he was doing all this, he had his head down and was very serious. His actions were also very proficient, as if bandaging a wound was a simple and familiar matter to him. The light in the boat was flickering and the lanterns in the Wanli Lake shone brightly on his face. The youth's handsome brows were so incredible that with such a lustrous short period, made one have a gentle illusion. Even Shen Miao could not help but be slightly stumped for words. However, this gentle illusion did not last very long, as Zi Jingxing put her leg down, and suddenly his hands were at Shen Miao's side as he approached, bullying. His face was so close in proximity, and the peach-shaped eyes were as if they were intoxicated as they looked over in a faint smile. It was clearly a casual move, but was so forceful that it made one feel breathless. Shen Miao calmly stared face to face at him, and Zi Jingxing, after staring at Shen Miao for a while, then let go of her hands and said lightly, "Knowing too much would not be good for you." "I do not want to know anything," Shen Miao said, "only hope that you will not implicate me." When she said it, she felt somewhat vexed in her heart. She did not know what was going on today. Perhaps the incident was too sudden, or perhaps because of her injury she felt irritated. Thus when facing Zi Jingxing, it actually incited some of her little temper that was originally buried in her bones. Unknowingly, those venting of one's anger at will and bickering temperament had been drawn out by Zi Jingxing. As long as you know proper restraint, no one can implicate you, Zi Jingxing said. He tidied up the messy clothes on the boat and found a long pole to hang Shen Miao wet clothes to lightly dry. "When can I leave?" Shen Miao asked. "There are people outside watching, so it would attract criticism if one were to leave now. Moreover, with you and me together, one may falsely accuse me." Zi Jingxing's words could still make one mad as before. "So for my innocence, when the boat dock, I will bring you to the princess residence." "The princess residence's people would send you back." Shen Miao was slightly startled. "Princess residence? Princess Rongzin?" Zi Jingxing fiddled with the piece of charcoal. "She will help." Princess Rongzin was also born by the late emperor's concubine, and even though she was not as doted as Princess Yuqing, she was also one of the late emperor's favorites. Among the children of the late emperor, Princess Yuqing and Princess Rongzin had the deepest sister relationship. When Princess Yuqing married to the Marquis of Linan, Princess Rongzin married to the then top scorer of the imperial examinations, but unfortunately that top scorer died of an illness after a few years and Princess Rongzin never remarried. She moved back to the princess residence and had been living as a widow for many years. Thinking of Princess Yuqing's and Princess Rongzin's relationship, she would help Zi Jingxing on this. Shen Miao gratefully glanced at Zi Jingxing. He actually thought longer term, even if one were to think of ways to get the Shan family over. Upon seeing them, a female and male alone with untidy clothes, one would inevitably thought more. With the Shen and Zi family's relationship, who knew if it would be even more complicated in the future? With Princess Rongzin stepping forth, it would be considered a good idea. Hearing the sound of fireworks, Shen Miao was originally leaning against the boat window and looked out at the sound. In the dark skies of the Ding capital, the multiple colors on it were actually bright fireworks. As what Beilu and Xuanzhong mentioned, the fireworks would not stop for the entire night and the mood was different when one watched with the surging crowd as when one watched on the quiet lake. You like to see these? Zi Jingxing raised his brows. I do not like it. Shen Miao replied. In Ming Qi's royal family's annual banquet, the emperor and concubines would have fun together and set off numerous fireworks in the imperial gardens. At that time she had just returned from the Qian country, and suddenly there was an additional Mai Furan in the palace who had an unfailing favor of the emperor. On the night of the banquet, Mai Furan and Fu Ziyu were at the imperial gardens drinking and having fun, while Shen Miao sat at Kuning Palace with Wan Yu and Fu Ming in company. When she alone saw the fireworks being discharged and disappear, that was the coldest fireworks she ever saw. But after that, she did not like these things anymore. What's so good to look at things that disappear in a fleeting moment? Visually attractive but useless appearance. Her tone had a touch of extreme anger but her gaze was somewhat sad. Zi Jingxing glanced at her astonished and after some thought, got up and took something out from a cupboard. He walked over to Shen Miao's side and handed something over to her. One do not know how long it would take for the boat to dock. Since today is the Jade Rabbit Festival, you should also make a lantern. Zi Jingxing said. Shen Miao looked at the lanterns in her hands. Most likely it was left behind by the people who were having fun on the boat before, as candles had not been placed inside and it was folded flatly down. Looking towards the window, the surface of the Wanli Lake was filled with lanterns and looked as if their boat was navigating a sea of night lights and the lake was the galaxy. Without waiting for Shen Miao's reply, Zi Jingxing arranged one lantern first and after he was done, he placed it into the water. His action was indeed very casual. When Shen Miao saw it, she asked, "Why do you not write a note?" A note is usually placed in the lanterns, and what was written was usually the wishes of the person who wrote it. As such the gods would be able to hear the prayers of the people, and would bless the person who set off the lantern to accomplish their wishes. I do not believe in gods. Zi Jingxing said lazily, it is not worth the mention to write. Shen Miao thought for a moment and could not imagine with Zi Jingxing having such a proud and domineering temperament. What kind of scene would it be if he were to seriously pray to the gods? She unfolded two lanterns but did not write any notes and also did not place any candles on them, but instead lit the topmost petals up before placing them onto the lake. The two lanterns burned from top to down, looking like two balls of fire on the lake's surface. Zi Jingxing was startled as he asked, "These are lanterns to offer sacrifice to the dead. What are you doing?" Lighting up the lanterns was providing an offering to give the death a lantern. In such a lively and bustling festival, Shen Miao actually came here to worship the dead. She did not care about Zi Jingxing's words, and only looked at the lanterns that were gradually swallowed by the flames and after a while, there were no more signs of the two lanterns. With her rebirth, there were things that could be redone, but there were things that could not. For example, Wan Yu and Fu Ming. In this lifetime, it was goodbye and farewell. There would not be a gentle and magnanimous princess and a sensible and composed crown prince. A handkerchief was handed to Shen Miao. When she raised her head, Zi Jingxing impatiently said, "Why cry again?" Shen Miao touched her cheeks. Unknowingly her cheeks had become wet. Most probably she was so overwhelmed with emotions that she did not know that her tears fell. She took the handkerchief as Zi Jingxing said, "You have some code of loyalty, so in the future if one were to have any difficulty, one can come to look for me." The words without any rhyme or reason made Shen Miao stunned for a moment before she looked at Zi Jingxing. The youth's side profile was very serious and tall under the lights from the lake. He leaned against the window and looked towards Shen Miao, and there was a complex look that flashed by, but he said indifferently, "I do not like owing anyone favors. Today, since you did not sell me out, I will not ill-treat you. Seeing the numerous trouble that you have stirred up, perhaps there will be a day when you will need my help. When that time comes, taking into consideration of today's matter, I will lend a hand to help," Shen Miao said. "Then many thanks to little Marquis." Zi Jingxing smiled and suddenly turned his head to look at her and said with a ridiculing tone, "But helping is only helping. You better not fall in love with me." Shen Miao immediately laughed in anger as she said, "Little Marquis is thinking too much." "Really?" Zi Jingxing walked over from the window and looked down condescending at Shen Miao, who was sitting on the couch. He suddenly plucked the hairpin from Shen Miao's hair and said thoughtfully, "Then why do you wear the hairpin I gave you?" He actually emphasized the word "I." Shen Miao's words were cold and she wanted to say just now that it was the maids that put it on for her, but heard that Zi Jingxing continued speaking. "Today you have touched what you can touch and see what you can see. But one can forget about pledging your life." His laughter harbored evil designs. A little girl that had not yet grown up. "I am not yet that hungry that one cannot pick what one eat." This person's words were just too malicious, and worse since he liked to invert black and white. In Shen Miao's past and present life, she had met with hypocrite gentlemen who were so much devoted to righteousness that they inspired reverence. But it was the first time meeting a rogue who was able to make one mad in one sentence. "I do not like little Marquis and will not like in the future." "Little Marquis can rest assured," Shen Miao said with sarcasm. "That is good." Zi Jingxing stared at her and his smile still had an amusement to it, but in his dark eyes, there was a somewhat warning and indifference for a fleeting moment. He said, "Little girl, I am not a good person." Shen Miao did not speak. Zi Jingxing was not a good person, then could she be considered a good person? Perhaps she was one in her past lifetime, but the current her in this lifetime was insidious and vicious, completely detached from the word good. The boat quietly floated down with the current and the snow slowly fluttered down outside. Half of the lake was filled with crystal snowflakes and half with lanterns, and the skies were lit with colorful fireworks. This New Year's Jade Rabbit Festival seemed nothing great but was after all special. The purple-clad youth leaned against the window and looked out of it indifferently. One did not know for how long he looked, but when he turned back, he discovered that Shen Miao had already fell asleep. When she was sleeping, there was no dignified or alienating look on her face, and because of today's suffering, her face was flushed, and with Zi Jingxing large fox cloak wrapped around her, she really looked like a little girl that had not yet grown up. Her hair was already dried up and a lock of long hair was blocking her eyes. It seemed to be somewhat itchy as the sleeping Shen Miao was frowning. Zi Jingxing walked to her side and paused before reaching out to pick the hair blocking her eyes and tucked it behind her ears. He then took out what looked like the begonia hairpin that he plucked out from Shen Miao's hair and with a spin, gently inserted it into Shen Miao's hair. He sat in front of Shen Miao with folded arms and looked at her for a while. Seeing her sleeping soundly, he raised his brows. To sleep so well in front of an unfamiliar male, really do not know the meaning of fear. After sitting for a while more, the boat swayed suddenly before stopping. It had finally reached the shore. Zi Jingxing walked to the bow of the boat and a few black-clad figures appeared on the shore. The one leading said, replying to Master, "Everything has been handled clean. Master will return to the residence now." Zi Jingxing looked back to the cabin and said, "Go to the princess residence first. Tai Yi, bring a horse carriage over." He turned and walked back to the cabin and had to knock a few times before Shen Miao looked up sleepily. Zi Jingxing said, "Reached the shore." "Already reached." Shen Miao suddenly woke up and looked out of the window before she started heading out. But since the injury on her leg had not healed, she almost fell when she stood up. Zi Jingxing grabbed her arm and after thinking, he reached out and wrapped the fox coat around Shen Miao tighter, and directly carried her and the fox coat up and headed out to exit the boat. Shen Miao was in shock and unconsciously reached out to gather her hands around Zi Jingxing's neck. When she looked up, Zi Jingxing's lips were hooked up. "Behave yourself. Do not take advantage of me, Shen Miao." Zi Jingxing had a hand over her shoulders, and since he was tall and had long limbs, it was effortless for him to carry Shen Miao. Shen Miao's head was leaning against his embrace and could feel his tall, straight chest and strong heartbeat, and she actually started feeling uncomfortable. Only when they were at the head of the boat, she then realized that a group of black-cladded people were standing outside. Seeing that Zi Jingxing carried a little young lady out, although one had exercised much restraint, their looks were somewhat different. The most relaxed one was Zi Jingxing. He walked to the front of the horse carriage and threw Shen Miao into the car and said, "Go to the princess residence," and walked away without turning back. The horse carriage left wobbling away, leaving the black-cladded people looking at one another. A young tall one said, "Tai Yi, why was Master carrying a girl out? What relationship does that girl and Master have?" "Yes, yes." A female walked over and touched her chin as she pondered, for so many years, so many beauties had not been able to get close to Master. So Master has this kind of taste. Her eyes brightened. "Ha, no wonder." "Who says?" Another charming mature female said, dissatisfied. "What good is there to look at such a silly little girl?" "Huo Long, one know that you like Master, but regarding this, one cannot be jealous about it." The female before smiled and looked towards the man standing in the middle. "Tai Yu, you are closest to Master. Who is that little young lady?" "What is with Master? Tell us about it." "All shut up." Tai Yi, who was standing in the middle, could no longer tolerate it. "All go back. The secret division are all so carefree, then tomorrow go and guard the prison tower." When those words were said, everyone immediately retreated and subsequently said, suddenly remembered that there are still things to do. Were the corpses just now taken care of? It is better to head back to the secret division quarters to understand the situation. It is really dangerous today. As they chatted, they slowly walked away. Tai Yi let out a sigh of relief and only then he disappeared back into the night. Speaking of which, at the other side at the princess residence, when the people outside announced Zi Jingxing arrival, Princess Rongzin was preparing to head to bed. She has been widowed for many years and had no children by her side, so in every festival, she would be especially lonely. Even though the Emperor Wenhu and the palace had the name of siblings with her, but after all they were not born from the same mother, so how could they be really close? Moreover, it was much more comfortable staying in the princess residence than mingling with the palace's royalties. Thus, for so many Jade Rabbit festivals, Princess Rongxing did not enter the palace and did not play outside, and only stayed quietly in the residence like it was any other day. But it was different today. Upon knowing of Zi Jingxing's arrival, Princess Rongzin was somewhat surprised. After redressing, she then went out to welcome him, and when she entered the main hall, she saw that Zi Jingxing had already sat on the chair waiting. Once he saw her, he smiled gently. "Aunt Rong." Princess Rongzin's maiden name was Yu Rong, and she had a deep sister relationship with Princess Yu King, so it was not considered too much for Zi Jingxing to call her Aunt Rong. "Why come over here today?" When Princess Rongzin first saw Zi Jingxing, there was some doubts, but more of it was happiness. She did not have any children and had long treated Zi Jingxing as her own son. She pitied Zi Jingxing's life experiences, and when Princess Yu King passed away, Princess Rongzin went over to the Marquis residence to give her condolences. She even cursed and berated Zi Ding badly. Even though Zi Jingxing was stubborn and obstreperous, he was very respectful with Princess Rongzin and would come over to the princess residence every New Year or festival, but usually he would come over on the first day of the New Year. But this year he came over on the Jade Rabbit Festival, making Princess Rongzin somewhat surprised. "Missing Aunt Rong, so one came over to take a look." "Could it be that Aunt Rong does not welcome me?" Zi Jingxing smiled. He originally had an extraordinary appearance, so when he spoke half jokingly and half seriously, there was some romantic look that even the maid standing at the hall also blushed. Princess Rongzin poked his forehead and smiled. Even dare to tease an elderly like me. You little fellow is getting more gutsy. Missing Antrong is one thing, but there is a matter of request for help from Antrong tonight, he said. Princess Rongzin was surprised for a moment and she sat up straight and seriously said, Jingxing, is it that you have encountered some difficulties? No matter what difficult matter, just tell Antrong about it. Antrong, do not be worried, it is a small matter. Zi Jingxing explained with a smile, I have a friend who strayed from the family during the Jade Rabbit Festival, and also unfortunately fell into the water. Even though I saved my friend, there are still some inconvenience, so one thought of letting Antrong use the name of the princess residence to send one back. Even though he said it simply, Princess Rongzin heard the matter hidden. Even though Mingqi was more open about matters between a male and female, but at the end a female's clean reputation was very important, and if one was not careful and rumors were accidentally spread out, it would be suffering for others. But Princess Rongzin looked at Zi Jingxing. That friend of yours is actually a young lady? Zi Jingxing nodded his head. For so many years, one did not see you have any young lady around. Princess Rongzin suddenly said teasingly, Jingxing, you are an adult. Not sure how old that young lady is and if there is any marriage prospect made by the family. And wrong, Zi Jingxing helplessly said, she is still a little girl. It is because one know her a personal favor before, so one cannot not help. Is it that Antrong do not want to help me? What kind of words you say? Princess Rongxing feigned anger. In which moment did Antrong not help you? Fine, fine. Fine. Where is that young lady now? In the horse carriage outside. At the same time Antrong can give her a set of clothes to put on, Zi Jingxing said. Hearing that, Princess Rongzin's eyes that were looking at Zi Jingxing had much more meaning. When Zi Jingxing saw this, he could only shake his head in amusement and was too lazy to explain further. Princess Rongzin instructed the maids beside to bring Shen Miao into the room to rest from the horse carriage and said to Zi Jingxing, but you still have not told me which family's young lady is she? Ding Capital's Shen family, formidable general's daughter, Shen Miao, Zi Jingxing lazily said. Princess Rongzin was drinking tea and almost choked on it when she heard that. He looked at Zi Jingxing and said incredibly, that idiot noble female. Isn't she in love with Prince Ding? Zi Jingxing shrugged his shoulders as Princess Rongzin carefully looked at him and said after some deliberation, Jingxing, there are thousands of females in the world and you are still young of age. Wait a while more. Zi Jingxing. Two flowers blossoms and each reflects differently. At one end, Princess Rongzin was having a heart-to-heart talk with Zi Jingxin, and at the other end, Shen Miao was sitting in Princess Rongzin bedchambers, looking at the coming and going of the maids arranging her clothes and styling her hair. In the former life, Princess Rongzin was not this enthusiastic to her. Perhaps she looked down on her action of throwing oneself to another, or perhaps felt that she had uncouth knowledge and always treated her coldly. Afterwards, when she became the Empress, Princess Rongzin still treated her lukewarmly. Or it might be because Princess Rongxing was often not in the palace. Every time she entered the palace, her gaze would not be very friendly. In Shen Miao's heart, Princess Rongzin was a person who was hard to get along, who knew that with such attentiveness today, it made Shen Miao feel unfathomable.